already seen each other's faces. It's almost back when we are.
Remember, no talking.
Oh, hey, Jill. Jill.
Good morning, Kentucky chapter members and guests, and welcome to day 2 of our annual conference. It is with my pleasure that I introduce our chapter president, Mr. Larry Gillis.
Thank you, Robbie, for getting this all together today, and thanks the chapter members and all the attendees from yesterday. We had a great day yesterday. We're going to have a great day today as well. We have a lot of content, 2 keynote speakers, 2 other sessions, short business meeting, all between 8:45 and 12:30. So we have a lot to cover today. It's going to be some great content. Just some things that remind people of that we're here yesterday, but maybe not. Maybe we have some new members today or new attendees today. I know some people couldn't make it yesterday and they were going to try to make it today. Once again, I want to thank ServiceNow, the exclusive sponsor for the conference. We'll be talking about them throughout the day, but without them, we couldn't make this available for everyone free of charge. And so we're very grateful for ServiceNow. Some other things we want to talk about is door prizes. We had door prizes yesterday. We're going to have some more door prizes today. We will have 4 $25 Amazon gift cards to give away. And we'll also have 1 overnight stay at Kentucky State Park. And those will be for chapter members, be drawn by Rebecca Ogden. And we'll give those away throughout the sessions today. And we will get your address and mail those to you. So we will get those to you. So very proud of the door prizes. Gave away the same amount yesterday. Want to remind people that we actually, even though we have the morning today, we actually have 2 different sessions. We have the first session, which we're in right now, and then we have the second session that starts at 11 o'clock. So if you're attending the session now, I'll explain this again at 10:45 when we take a break. You'll need to go back into our agenda, click on the link for the second session, which starts at 11. I will remind you of that once we get to the break. So what are we going to do today? Well, we're going to have a lot of things to cover today. First of all, at 9 o'clock, we're going to have Dr. Corey Hicks, and very excited about Dr. Corey Hicks. Seen his videos, talked to him in person, very excited. Went to Kentucky State University, as I did. And he's going to talk about that. He's very familiar, obviously, with Frankfurt state government, lots of good friends in the chapter. And so he's coming to us probably, I'm not sure where he's at today, probably in Miami, Florida. He may tell us where he's at today. He travels all around the country, but he'll start us off at 9 o'clock. And he's going to kick us off. And then we're going to go in at 10 o'clock to the Personnel Cabinet. Secretary Jarena Weathers and Executive Director Vicki Stone from the Office of Diversity, Equality, and Training will be here, and they will tell us about a few things that they have going on in the cabinet and in the department, and we'll also talk about the Kentucky Lead Conference, which is going to be November 18th and 19th. Very excited about that. We'll take then we'll go into a second business meeting. We had the main business meeting yesterday. Today we'll go into the second business meeting for about 15 minutes. This will be where we award the Walter R. Gaddis Award. So very proud to be able to do that. And then we'll take a short break and I'll explain what's going to happen. We'll come back at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, we're going to have an HR panel. We're going to have Mary Elizabeth Bailey, Commissioner Bailey from the Personnel Cabinet, Teresa Straw from the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, and Michelle Barnes from the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet. The session is going to be the aftermath, transforming HR. It's going to be an hour-long question and answer panel session. I've seen some of the questions. I have not heard some of the answers. So I'm very excited about hearing what they have to say today. Right after that, 12 o'clock, going right into Kareem Ellis, frequent speaker for Kentucky chapter and also from the Kentucky League Conference. He's going to talk to us about a half an hour in this conference, and then we're going to adjourn. So a lot to cover today. Get to this. Couple of things here. We're going to do the same thing we did yesterday. Somewhere on your screen there, if you hover above that, you'll see a taskbar there. You'll see a question mark there, show questions and answers. As the speakers are talking today, if you have a question, you can enter that and we will monitor those questions and the speakers will be able to answer those. They may wait till the end of the session. Robbie Perkins will actually monitor those. and make sure we cover those. One final reminder that I talked about a little bit yesterday, all these sessions we have 2 days of content, 4 different sessions. This is a Microsoft Teams live event. Once the events are over, those links will then turn to videos for a short period of time, a couple months. So if you missed something, you can go back and watch it. Now, one of the things that Robbie told me yesterday, and he's the IT guru, and so if you have any questions about this, you'll have to ask Robbie. But if you're watching this right now through a Kentucky ky.gov account, you're going to have to watch on some other device, because when you go in with your Kentucky.gov account, it tries to put you back in the same event. So he can explain that if you need to. All I'm trying to say is these events will be able to, the videos will be able to be seen by, for a couple months, and we can explain how to get to that. With that being said, I think it's time to go ahead and get the day started. One other thing, actually, before I get started here, I mentioned this yesterday, and I'll mention it again today. Chapter dues for Kentucky chapter, $35 a year. We already have that set up, and you can go ahead and pay. If you pay now, it'll be for starting in September 1st. That's the next year. So we've already got it set up for next year, $35 for the entire year. If you pay now, then you'll be set up for the next year. Same thing with the Kentucky League Conference. If you go to the link off the Personnel Cabinet page, they'll talk about this later, that those tickets are already set up as well. The chapter is working with the Kentucky League Conference on the registration process. The League Conference is the 18th and 19th of November, and they're $25 for the tickets. And they will tell you later on this morning about the number of registrations we have already in less than 2 weeks, but all those are available now. So the point I'm trying to make is for agencies that have some excess funds or trying to use some additional dollars before the end of the fiscal year, you can go ahead and prepay all that and have that ready to go. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. With that being said, I'd like to introduce Miss Nikki Bernstein once again from ServiceNow. She is the Enterprise Account Executive for State and Local Government for Kentucky and Tennessee. She joined us yesterday. She introduced the keynote speaker. She's going to join us again today. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Nikki.
Great. Thank you so much, Larry. And again, it's a pleasure to be here. With that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Corey Hicks as our morning opening keynote speaker. Dr. Corey Hicks is a speaker, corporate trainer, author, and 20-plus year pharmaceutical professional. As a former All-American decathlon athlete turned biotech medical director with over 23 years of successful motivational speaking, Dr. Hicks has inspired over thousands nationally and internationally. Dr. Hicks provides a range of training services from health and wellness, leadership, stress management, emotional intelligence, and self-empowerment. Dr. Hicks is a former 3-time NCAA All-American decathlete in track and field, a former 1996 Olympic hopeful, a 2009 KSU Hall of Fame inductee, a 2-time author, 2019 Bragg Magazine Influencer of the Season, and a 2020 Global Motivational Award recipient. Dr. Corey Hicks holds a BA in Education from Kentucky State University, an MA in Health Science from Concordia University, Irvine, California, and a PhD in Health and Human Performance from Concordia University, Chicago River Forest. He is also a member of the Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated and the founder and CEO of the 3Vs LLC. Sorry, guys. With that, I'll pass it over to Corey.
Dr. Hicks, you're on mute.
I think did that do it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Bernstein, for an awesome introduction. And I just want to thank both Anitra Williams as well as Larry Gillis for just the opportunity to come out and speak to you this morning. So I'm very excited. It's always a pleasure to have an opportunity to come back, even if it's virtual, to the state of Kentucky, because Kentucky is near and dear to my heart as a graduate of Kentucky State University. But this morning, I want to talk about the power of purposeful change. And purposeful change is truly instrumental. And I want to talk about how purposeful change has made a tremendous impact in my life. So the question may be asked, how do you define purposeful change? Purposeful change starts by simply being aware that there is a better option to take if you choose to. So sometimes we find it difficult to take that better option, but it's certainly there. In the great words of Benjamin Franklin, nothing can be said to be certain except for death, taxes, and change. And we know that change is certainly inevitable. It's something that we can cultivate through deliberate action and reflection. And as we begin to reflect in terms of changing or bringing about purposeful change, once we identify, we know that we certainly have to take a deliberate action in order to become the best version of ourselves. See, like happiness, purpose is not a destination, and I love this, but it's a journey and it's a practice. And so that means that it's accessible to any and all ages. It doesn't discriminate, but you must be willing to explore what matters to you the most and what type of person you wish to become. Each of us must be willing to effectively unlearn old limitations. These old limitations serve as learned behaviors and explore new possibilities to see beyond ourselves and to bring new meaning to the world. If we choose to, if we're bringing about purposeful change. And it's interesting because at some point in time, we all have the story that will define and bring about purposeful change, even if it's involuntary. And that's the sometimes the challenge, because when we're bringing about purposeful change comes in an involuntary manner, even if we don't plan it, but sometimes it happens. In pursuit to purposeful change, whether again we plan it or not, we will go through a three-step process. And this three-step process is definitely a necessity for growth and development. But within this three-step process, you will be justified, certified, and elevated. So then you ask the question, you said, what do you mean by being justified, certified, and elevated? So the justification process is when you're going through a storm. And when we go through this storm, it's solely dependent upon the intended lesson there is to be learned. So at times, when you're going through the justification period, it makes you want to give up, it makes you want to quit. But eventually there's a saying, and I love it, and it says that if you don't eventually quit, you will win. So the next phase of this process, of the certification process, is when you've weathered the storm. You know, now here it is, you've gone through the justification period, it made you want to quit, you didn't feel as though you could do it anymore, but yet and still you weathered the storm. Now you're getting into the certification process, meaning now this shows that you've been promoted, that you're tried, true, and proven. And this is kind of pretty much, you know, the pat on the back to say, hey, even though you wanted to quit, you know, you didn't quit, but you made it through. And then you have the last phase, which is the elevation period. And that's pretty much like the promotion. And that represents the accomplishment and the promotion of grit. That means that, you know, you, again, have weathered the storm. You are showed that you're tried, you're improving. So in life, again, you know, this is a three-step process that we go to. Now, promotion comes in many ways, and it may come through mental, it may come through physical, it may come through spiritual growth. But once you receive it, the key thing is to never forget the lessons learned along your journey. Now, in life, some of our greatest teaching moments comes through what I call reflection and understanding, because the only way that you know to how to improve upon something, you have to do a reflection. And when you reflect upon things, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent. But upon reflecting upon it, you have self-understanding from it, because it's kind of like, all right, I get it. I understand the reason why this happened. Now, I love this, and I talk about this a lot. I said, fate presents opportunities, good, bad, or indifferent, but our destiny is directly connected into the decisions that we make. And my willingness to embrace purposeful change, and I want to tell you a little bit about it, and it started in my early childhood while growing up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I want to just share with you how it played an instrumental role in my life. I grew up in the inner cities of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I was raised by both my parents. And my father, he worked for U.S. Pipe, and my mother, she worked for Cutter's Laboratory until it closed down. And then she was, my mother, she was a janitor too. They both taught me, regardless of the position that they were in, they taught me about respect. They taught me about perseverance, and they taught me about completion, about that it's important to finish what you start. Now, in my high school, I started off as a star football player who was an all-state defensive end. And football was the thing that I was doing. It's the thing that I grew up since I was 7 years old. But it's interesting, track and field was something that pretty much just fell in my lap. The opportunity was presented my senior year of high school to participate in the first ever high school decathlon, decathlon event. And for those of you who have never heard about the decathlon, well, you remember Bruce Jenner. Bruce Jenner did the decathlon, and you have several other individuals. But the first day of the decathlon, it's a 2-day event. It's the 100-meter dash, it's the long jump, it's the shot put, it's the high jump, and the 400-meter dash. And you have pretty much 30 minutes in between each event. Depending on the weather, it can be 100, 110 degrees on the track, and you're spinning all day. It's 8 hours. And so then the second day, you have the 110 hurdles, you have the discus, you have the javelin, the pole vault, and the 1500. And the 1500 is brutal, especially after you've done 9 events. Are you exhausted? And now you have to finish with 100 meters short of a mile. But this was something, again, that fell into my lap. I had no idea that I would be successful in it, but I competed. And after my, senior year of high school, I finished 3rd in the state, my first time ever competing, and I was ranked 3rd in the nation. So it was like, wow, this is something that I think I can really do. But little did I know, the decision to compete in the decathlon will completely change my entire life. Now, in high school, initially, I was pretty much, I was an average student. I didn't have the highest GPA, but I had a gift for writing. So I never forget, when the opportunity, finally, the accolades and all of these things, I was Mr. Track. I had so many scholarships, but the only thing about it, from an academic point of view, my GPA wasn't high. And believe it or not, I had a 1.9 GPA, not because I couldn't do the work, but because I played around. So sometimes we'll see this, and that's why it's important to never give up on the individual, especially if they don't give up on themselves. But again, I was All-American in high school as a decathlete. I received multiple scholarship offers, but due to my grades and my low test scores, when I spoke with my guidance counselor, I was told that my chances of going to college were slim to none. So as I always do, I found a way to succeed. I never forget, I wrote a letter. I had one university, North Carolina Gordon Webb, and they was recruiting me for football, not for track and field. But at that time, I was like, hey, whatever scholarship I can get, I certainly will take that scholarship opportunity. So I wrote a letter to North Carolina Gordon Webb. I told them how I messed up, how I played around, but if given the opportunity, I promised that I could turn things around and I could be a model student. So lo and behold, from that, they wrote me back and they accepted me into the university, and they gave me a full ride scholarship. But believe it or not, I did not attend. And the reason why I didn't attend, because also an opportunity from a junior college, and it was called Neosho County Community College. They wrote a letter and they sent an All-American certificate in the mail, and they said, this could be you. I was like, wow. And I'd never flown on a plane before. So they sent me a plane ticket. I went out to Kansas, and the only thing I knew about Kansas was Dorothy and Toto. I had no idea about what Kansas had to offer. But the only thing that I knew, it was different. When we talk about purposeful change, I knew this was a new start. This was an opportunity for me. But I said, you know what? I'm going to take that opportunity. And believe it or not, the town only had 2,200 people in it. It was one red light. They had one JCPenney. But taking that opportunity was one of the best decisions that I ever made, because it gave me a great foundational basis. It, going back into purposeful change. So my GPA went from a 1.9 GPA to a 3.25, and I did accomplish my goal of becoming a junior college All-American. And again, it was all about making the decision of purposeful change, which truly helped to steer me in the direction of my purpose. So after I was All-American as a freshman, then I had every major university, Texas University, LSU, Arizona State University, that wanted me to come to their university. But Kentucky State University was the first university, believe it or not, that offered me a track scholarship. But I didn't want to take it because at that time I would have to redshirt and I wanted to compete. So I just finally decided, because I wanted to come up and tour the campus, and I just decided to transfer to Kentucky State University. So at Kentucky State University, again, I felt that I was closer to home. I truly felt like it was a family environment, and it still gave me an opportunity to continue my academic and athletic success. So from there, being at Kentucky State University, I had the opportunity to be a two-time NCAA All-American. And again, I was poised to be the winner of the NCAA 1994 Outdoor Championships until an untimely event occurred. And sometimes we never know the challenges that we're going to endure. But here it was, I'm at the national championship. I'm blowing away competition by 300 points. And I just thought that it was pretty much, it was done. You know, I thought here it was, this is the best possible position that you can be in. I'm a senior in college. I have the opportunity to be the NCAA national champion. They're interviewing me after the first day of the decathlon, and I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And the company who shipped my pole vault poles over crushed my pole vault poles. So I didn't know they was crushed until the 7th event of the decathlon. Mind you, here it is the day before I give it an interview. They was all but crowning me as the NCAA champion because the only way that I could have lost my title, it had to be something unforeseen that happened. So I pull my pole vault poles. I'm warming up for the pole vault, and notice that the top half of my poles, because they're fiberglass, all of them were crushed. So I'm scrambling around. I'm trying to find someone who would let me borrow their pole, and that was slim to none, because it's like, hey, we're in competition. I don't want to do anything to help you beat me. So, but I found someone that was actually nice that let me utilize their pole, and back then it didn't have weight restrictions. So at the time I was right around 175 pounds, and the pole was 155 pound max. So in regular warm-ups, I vaulted 14 feet, but as I got into competition and my adrenaline was pumping, when I rocked back on the pole, I heard it begin to crack. So I was nervous and I didn't want to jeopardize my health. So I was able to only vault 12 feet. I lost 275 points, and I had a 25-point lead going into the final event of the 1500. So here it is, I'm dehydrated, exhausted, and I'm running, and all of a sudden I'm catching Charlie horses. And in the decathlon, I guess the gift and the curse is that everybody has their event that they're great at. So the thing about it is, the things that you're really and truly good at, you want to make sure that you maximize that to give yourself a cushion. If it's the jumps, you want to maximize the jumps. If it's the distances, you want to maximize those, or whatever it is, you want to make sure that you begin to expand your point spread. Well, anyhow, one of the guys who was a strong 1500-meter runner, he was within within striking distance. So he ran the 1500 of his life. I ended up losing the national championship, and I ended up getting 3rd place. I was still All-American, but it wasn't what I wanted. But despite the situation that occurred, again, I graduated from Kentucky State with a 3.25 GPA as a student athlete, and then I was offered a teaching position. I was like, you know what? I guess, hey, this is just what has to happen, and I'm just going to focus on now my professional career. So in my opinion, again, I thought my athletic career was over and it was time for me to move on. But little did I know that the man upstairs, but you know, who is God, had a different plan for me. So remember earlier I stated that fate brings about opportunities, good, bad, or indifferent, but our destiny is directly connected into the decisions that we make. So From that, after the national championship, I was approached by Brooks Johnson, a two-time Olympic coach. Now, mind you, I had already moved down to Florida, transitioned. I was a week away from school starting, but I got a call from Brooks Johnson, who had been looking for me. Now, this was a two-time Olympic coach. He coached Flojo. He coached Lynn Jennings, Petty Sue Plummer. He coached many of the greats. And he told me, he said that you're the truth. I believe in you. And I want you to come out and be a part of the 1996 Olympic team and train. And so it's like, wow, I had to make a decision. Here it is. I have a career. I'm teaching, but yet and still, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I had to make a decision. So what do you think I did? I walked, I left. I walked away from my teaching position to pursue purpose again. Remember, fate presents opportunities, good, bad, or indifferent, but our destiny is directly connected into the decisions that we make. So here it was. I just looked at it as a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I left and ended up going out, and it was great because I trained with some of the top athletes in the world. It was amazing. The training was rigorous and tough, and I had to forget everything that I thought I knew if I truly wanted to pursue purposeful change. And sometimes it's challenging because we feel as though when we are comfortable with something that we don't want to change. And that's how things were. When I got there, I had to learn to let learned behaviors that stifle me both mentally and physically from what I call purposeful change, better my times and distances. And because I began to listen to my coach, because again, I began to fight him. In life, we do that sometimes. When change happens, we want to fight it. Why do we have to do this? I don't want to change anything. I want to stay the way. I want things to stay the way they are. But again, change is inevitable. But when I stopped fighting and I let go and I embraced purposeful change, I went from a 24-foot long jumper to a 26-foot long jumper. I went from a 6'6" high jumper to a 7 feet 3 inch high jumper. I went from pole vaulting 14 feet to pole vaulting 16 feet 8 inches. So as you can see, purposeful change was beneficial, again, as long as I was willing to embrace it. So here it is. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm feeling great. And now as the Olympics drew closer, I found myself being mentioned and discussed among some of the top athletes in the country, which was making me feel excited. There was individuals from the news that was coming out. Brooks was giving reports of what's taking place. And I just felt as though, I was at the pinnacle of my career. Again, I was in the best shape. I felt comfortable. And this gave me an opportunity, in my opinion, to really and truly erase the situation that happened when I was in college, just to erase that bad memory from the previous NCAA track and field championships. So here it was a tune-up meet just before the Olympics, and there was 5 of the top 5 decathletes in the world competing in competition, and it was like, wow. I was very excited, but I was nervous at the same time because I was nursing an injury that I had sustained 2 weeks prior while long jumping. So I didn't want to do too much, but I wanted to do enough just to feel, just to kind of take a feel for how my, how my performances would go based upon everything that I was doing from working with Brooks. But I never forgot, again, the excitement that I had warming up in the 100-meter dash. And this was just a tune-up meet that we had. And I was just thinking that today is a day when everybody in the world is going to know who I am, because here it is, I'm competing with all of these top name athletes, and people are going to, for the first time, get a chance to see what I can do. A lot of the things that I was doing, no one knew about it because Brooks didn't want to necessarily showcase me early. But this meet, he felt as though I was ready, and he wanted to show everybody. It's like, wow, okay, hey, this is your coming out meet. So again, finally, they make the first and second call. We was in Cal State Stanislaus. We was in Turlock, California, and it was just a little tune-up meet. And they made the first and second call for the 100-meter dash. And I never forget, I had maybe Chris Huffins, who was a bronze medalist. He finished in the 96 Olympics, and it was Mike Smith, and he was #1 in Canada. And they're in the heat next to me, and I'm like, wow, I couldn't believe it that I'm here with these type of caliber guys. But I had to look at myself and say, hey, I'm on that level too. So I just got to not necessarily get caught up in the moment, but just enjoy the moment. So I'm in the blocks, the gun goes off. 3 steps into the race, I fell to the ground, and I didn't know what happened. I was sliding on my stomach. I'm trying to figure out what happened, and I was shocked, trying to make sense of what happened because I had no understanding of what happened. But the only thing that I know, I was in excruciating pain, and I looked down at my leg, and I had a severe dip in my leg. And little did I know, in less than 3 seconds, my entire world, as I knew it from a track and field portion, would come to an end. I went, I attempted to rehab my leg because my coach said, well, you know what, it's okay. Maybe, it's just, from the injury that you sustained 2 weeks ago. So it's going to be okay. We're just going to lay off because I know the Olympic trials are coming up. So let's just kind of take it easy. So we waited a few weeks and nothing got better. And then later we went to the orthopedic surgeon where I had an MRI. And when he came back, it was the unthinkable. He said that I had sustained a substantial tear. I had tore my rectus femoris, which is the smallest of the quads, off of the kneecap. So everything that I worked hard for, here it is. It came to win. Remember, the NCAA championship. I'm at the pinnacle, and I'm about to win the national championship. An unforeseen circumstance happened. Now, here it is a year later, and I'm like, this is redemption. But yet and still, I tore my quadricep muscle off of my kneecap, and I'm trying to make sense of it. I'm in a daze. The hardest thing was just to call my mother and my parents, my supporters, everybody who really and truly believed in me, and told them that this was it. I couldn't compete anymore. So once again, it's picking up the pieces, trying to understand why did this happen. But in the back of my mind, I could hear this thing says that your purpose for wanting to succeed must be greater than the pain it will produce. And I wanted to succeed that bad that I said that I'm not going to let this deter me. I'm going to still continue to do it. But again, remember what I said when we talk about purposeful change. Sometimes things happen for a reason in order to push you in your purpose. Our plans may be one thing, but God's plans may be something else for us. And I want you to just think about that. Now, although I didn't get a chance to compete during the '96 Olympics, I still was asked by NBC to be the sports analyst for NBC Channel 3 News, which was a local affiliate in my hometown, Chattanooga, Tennessee. So they gave me a 2-week TV broadcasting opportunity where I had an opportunity to talk with many of the Olympians, many of the individuals that trained on the team with me, with Brooks Johnson. But it was great. I had an opportunity to take people into what is the decathlon, to break down the different events, and to teach people about the 800, the long jump, just various events. So that was great. And it was a way to somewhat help me heal, but I still was an emotional wreck because I'm going through depression. I'm dealing with anxiety, all of this because I tore my quadricep muscle. And then on top of that, come to find out my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. So can you imagine, here it is, you're dealing with all of this, and then you find out that your mother has breast cancer. And it was tough for me. I never forget when I got back, I lost 21 pounds. I saw my mom going through chemotherapy, and she was just almost to the point that she was about to give up. She lost her hair, and she was like, "I'm tired of it. I just want to die." And I was like, "No, Mom, don't say that." So I'm weak myself, but I have to be strong for her because I know that she's going through things. At that time, it was Texol. It was this new chemotherapy drug that they tried on her, and she had the cancer the size of a cantaloupe that was in her breast. And they told her there's no way that we can go in there and do surgery. The only hope is that if we do this chemotherapy and it shrinks it down, we can remove it. And thank God that's what happened. So as she's going through the chemotherapy, they're seeing that, that she's having success with it. And I'm just trying to be stronger. And as soon as I knew that she was going to be okay, I said, "Mom, I got to go. I got to get myself together." And so what I end up doing, I end up moving back to Florida because I took a sabbatical from my job. But when I asked them about coming back, they couldn't promise me the position but they said, but if you come down, we'll see what we can do. So my mother was like, how are you going to make it? She said that, you know, you don't have a job down there. I only had $300 to my name. Well, $225 to my name and $300 on a credit card. And I had a 6.5 and by 11-foot trailer that I brought all the way from California with everything that I possessed. It was a 2-bedroom apartment, all of that on this in this trailer. But I knew that I told my mom, I'm sitting back and I'm watching you. I know you're getting better, Mom. I have to heal myself. I have to go somewhere that I can get myself back together. So that's what I did. I ended up moving down that time. My wife and I at that time, we moved down, and I talked to, because I didn't really have that much money, I talked to an apartment. Well, it was a hotel. It was like a beach motel. And I told them about what I was doing, and I had just came back from the Olympics. So they gave me a room for $25 a night, but it was a little beach shack hotel, but I didn't care. I just wanted to be somewhere where I could, with the possibility and hopes of getting a position. So the first week was pretty much a bust. I only had enough money to eat soup, for soup and cereal, and occasionally we may splurge on McDonald's, but that was about it. So I said, hey, if I don't get anything the second time, for next week, we're going to have to move back because we don't have enough money to stay afloat. But lo and behold, what ended up happening, an opportunity was afforded to me that Wednesday, and it was for a kindergarten teacher. And I was like, wow, I've never been a kindergarten teacher, but hey, I'll take it. I was willing to take anything. But there was a second interview. And so they said, well, hey, will you just go on a second interview? We've already offered you this job, but out of courtesy, would you just interview with the principal? So I interviewed with her, and it was for 4th grade dropout prevention. And I was like, wow, 4th grade dropout prevention? I didn't even know they had a class like that. But I spoke with, I never forget, her name was Christine Miller. I had a great conversation. Now, I had already accepted the position as a kindergarten teacher, but when she met me, she was so impressed that she went back and behind my back told them that I declined the position as a kindergarten teacher, and I'm going to take that position as the 4th grade dropout prevention. So I was like, wow, I didn't say that, but I went ahead and took that position. But it's interesting because at the time, that position, I'm dealing with kids who were low motivated. I'm dealing with kids who they said that had learning disabilities, who really and truly didn't want to be in school. And at the time, I'm at the lowest point in my life. And so my goal, and I said, you know what, I'm going to inspire them. I know they don't want to be here, but I began to have stories. We had personal development. I began to tell them about, they wanted to know about the Olympic experience. They wanted to know about, hey, so is this something that I can truly do? They wanted to hear about the people who I trained with. And it was interesting because it was actually healing for me, by working with these individuals, working with these kids who they said they couldn't learn, working with these kids who they say that didn't want to be here. But to me, it was about purposeful change. It was about change for me, healing for me to be a life changer, for me to pour back into other individuals. And then not just that, it was purposeful change for them, to letting them see what they can accomplish if they set their mind to it. So it was like a match made in heaven, and it was great. I had the opportunity to teach for that year. One of the greatest moments, we did a play, and it was a Scrooge. And I said, the only way we can do this play, you have to memorize your parts. If you don't do that, we're not going to do the play. So lo and behold, I gave them the scripts. And 3 days later, they came back and everybody memorized their parts. And I was just in amazement. I even had a part for an individual who was on a pre-primer learning level. And his name was Alex. And I said, Alex, you got a part too. Your part is the only thing you got to do. You're Tiny Tim. God blesses everyone. That's all you have to say. And he did a phenomenal job, and he played his role. And that was one of the best times of my life. That was one of the best times of their life. And believe it or not, 85% of the kids that was in that class was mainstreamed back into a regular classroom setting. And one of the greatest opportunities that I ever got, ever felt, was probably maybe 20 years ago. And well, I want to say maybe probably about 17 years ago, I bumped into one of my former students, and her name was Lauren Lindsay. And she said, I don't know if you remember me at that time, Mr. Hicks. She said, but I enjoyed your classroom. She said, I'm now in my second year of college. And she said, it was because of your classroom that changed me. It was because of your classroom that that made me believe that I could go to college. And it was a phenomenal opportunity. And from there, again, I taught for a year, and then I left teaching and I went into the pharmaceutical industry. So going into the pharmaceutical industry, where I've been at for the last 25 years, and in the interim of that, I've had the opportunity to coach and work with some of the top NBA, NFL players. When we talk about purposeful change, when you talk about healing, when you talk about a shift, sometimes things don't happen the way you want them to happen, but it happens the way that you need for them to happen. And I've met so many athletes just like myself that have been broken, that have gone through all kind of trials and tribulations. But again, with the opportunity to be in the pharmaceutical industry, with the opportunity to coach athletes, I've coached 33 high school All-Americans. I've had an opportunity to also to write a book. I wrote 2 books. I wrote a book, and it was values, vision, versatility. And it talks about, in order to bring about change, you have to possess all 3. Again, core foundational values, vision, in order to see yourself in a moment of greatness, and versatility, to be a chameleon, being able to adapt in any and all situations. So writing a book, as an being a 2-time author, also to going back to get my master's degree in coaching and athletic administration, and then having the opportunity to also go back and get my PhD degree, which was one of the best moments that I've ever had an opportunity to do. And probably the highlight of my career with getting my PhD degree is that I was asked by the president to be the commencement speaker at my own graduation. So when you talk about purposeful change, we never know where life is going to take us. Again, you go through that 3-step process. You're justified, you're certified, and you're elevated when you're weathering the storm. But I think, and I know that everything happens for a reason. If we look at everything that has happened with the whole pandemic, this situation, so many great ideals have been birthed. So many companies have restructured to make it better for employees. Again, there's been so many good things. People have focused. Families have came closer together with this time, spending, time to, where, everything is, you're being pulled from different directions. And we had an opportunity to really and truly focus on what's most important. Again, the family, focus on yourself, focus on your health, focus on eating right, focus on your mental agility, focus on wellness, focus on self-care. There's been so many great things that have been birthed, and we have had an opportunity just to be placed in a position where we can become the best version of ourselves. But again, a lot of that comes through purposeful change. And as you can see, it's not how you start or where you start, is how you finish. And everything that I've gone through, good, bad, or indifferent, I wouldn't change a thing, because it has made me into the individual that I stand before you today, to be able to share this story, to be able to tell you that if I can do it, so can you. So at this time, I'm going to open up the floor for any questions that you may have, and I just greatly appreciate you again for listening and having me as your keynote speaker. So thank you.
So if anyone has any questions for Dr. Hicks, just type those in the Q&A section in Teams, and we'll communicate those to you.
And if we don't have any questions, I want to leave you with something, that I look at is called the 9 points to winning. So I'll see if we don't have any questions. I want to end specifically with a takeaway for you, just as something to think about. So Robbie, are there any questions?
Yes, we do have the first question.
Okay, perfect. All right, good.
How did you find it within yourself to pick yourself up each time?
Okay, say that again, to pick myself up.
How did you find it within yourself to pick yourself up each time?
There's a saying that you can't be both pitiful and powerful in the same body. You have to choose one. And every time, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I wanted to stop, I wanted to quit. But again, your purpose for wanting to succeed, your purpose for wanting, for me wanting it has to be greater than the pain it produced. And it's all about your purpose. It's all about your why. And I knew that I'm looking back at my background and everything that I had done, everything that my mother and my father had sacrificed for me. I knew about my vision, my dreams, my goals. And because of that, I couldn't disappoint myself. I couldn't disappoint my mother. I couldn't disappoint my father. Everyone that counted on me, everyone that had been a part of my life to help me get to that point, I didn't want to fail them, and I was afraid of failure. And because of that, it just drove me just to say, hey, let me find a way to win. Let me find a way to be successful. And I just didn't accept no as a as the end of, okay, I had an injury, or the pose was crushed, and there was so many other things that happened. But again, you just use the unacceptable of motivation, and that's what I did. So.
Any more questions for Dr. Hicks?
So if we don't have any more questions, I want to leave you with the 9 points, what I call to winning. I do a lot of motivational quotes every day, and I always say keep winning in life no matter what you do. But I want to talk about the 9 points of winning. And the first thing that you do, you set a vision, and it's important that you meditate and focus on it consistently. Anything that you want, you have to really and truly focus on it. You have to meditate, you have to really and truly get it into your spirit if this is something that you want, because you have to really and truly, before anybody can believe you or before anything can be brought into fruition, you have to believe it within yourself. And then the second thing is set both realistic and stretch goals, and never forget to acknowledge the quick wins. And so again, you're going to have realistic goals that that you can accomplish, but then they're going to be stretch goals. Some of these stretch goals are goals that seem as though they're impossible and they're not attainable, but they actually are. But in the process of doing so, we can't forget the quick wins. And the quick wins are the things that you look at as being small. And because the small wins equate and eventually turn into big wins. So don't forget the quick wins, because sometimes the quick wins will pull you through. Sometimes when you feel as though that you're not getting anything accomplished, that's why it's always great to write something down, to look at to go back. I do a lot of journaling to show my success. And when you feel as though you're not getting anything accomplished, you can always go back and even look at the quick wins, and you can say, wow, I've come a long way. Okay, then the third thing is understand that your path to success won't be the same as everyone else. And it's about strategic alignment, and we must respect the process. So don't necessarily look at something that everybody else is doing and saying, hey, why isn't this happening for me? Because everybody has their own path. Everybody has their own journey. For some individuals, it's going to come sooner than later, but for others, it may take longer depending on what it is, but you have to respect the process and understand that every learned lesson along the process puts you in a position that once you finally get to where you're going, you're going to be able to be sustained. And everything that you're learning along that process, you're going to need that for once you get to your final destination. And so the next thing, stay faithful to the process no matter how it looks. No matter how it looks, no matter what people tell you, continue to believe, continue to speak things into existence. Don't necessarily get caught into what everyone is saying, and you have to stay faithful again to the process. Now, Involuntary struggle is necessary at times to remove pride and reposition our thoughts. And what I mean by involuntary struggle, these are things that happen that are unforeseen. These are things that happen that you don't necessarily sign up for, but sometimes it's good because it makes you reflect. Sometimes things happen in order to slow you down. And sometimes we have to be slowed down in order to be repositioned, because if we're moving too quick or we're rushing into a situation and then we may make a mistake or do something that's going to set us back 5 and 10 years. So be very careful and methodical about your process. And then the next thing, find a push partner. This is this is somebody that's going to tell you what you need to hear and not tell you what you want to hear. And that's like your mentor, or what I call utilize your circle of influences. These are people who you really and truly know, again, that they have your best interests, and they're not going to always agree with you. They're going to push you. They're going to make you better. But again, you need a push partner. And then the next thing, our timing is not everyone else's time. And so it's important to stay on your assignment and let your blueprint, which is your vision, be your navigator. Whatever your strategic goal is for yourself, whatever your plans are, let that be your navigator. Again, everyone else's timing is not ours. And remember, while you're going through sometimes your storm of being justified, certified, and elevated, again, you're going to be challenged through this process. The whole thing is to make you better. The whole thing is to put you or place you in a position of purposeful change. And then the last thing I want to leave you with is, once elevated, never forget your journey and use your testimony to give hope to someone else, because you never know who's going through that situation, who's going through that challenge. So once you finally go through it, we have to be transparent to share that with someone else, to push them along their journey, to help them get to where they need to be. So again, unless we have any other questions, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Dr. Hicks, we do have one more question.
Oh, yes. Okay.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
My younger self. Trust the process. My younger self, trust the process, really and truly understand that, again, everything is not on, it won't always be the way that you want it to be. So again, you just have to trust the process. That's my younger self, I'll tell anybody, trust the process, don't rush, make sure that you place yourself in a position to be successful. And then again, just make sure that you watch the company who you keep, and again, embrace purposeful change. So that would be my best advice for my younger self.
All right, thank you very much. Those are all the questions that we have.
You can have any other question, any question. I know we have one more question. Well, if we don't listen, embrace purposeful change. Change is good. Anytime we are being stretched, it's going to always be uncomfortable. But just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean that it's not good for us. I learned that those were part of my lessons of training for the Olympics. Sometimes we're used to doing things one way all the time, and you feel as though that one way is the only way. But then when someone comes to you and they show you a different way, and then you begin to do it and you say, well, this is not the way we used to do it, or I don't like this. But just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean that it's not beneficial. When I began to see the distances change with my jumps and my times drop with my running events, I was bought into it because it was about embracing purposeful change. So again, we've gone through a lot over the last year and a half, but this too shall pass. But embrace purposeful change and know that everything happens for a reason, but we have to be willing to understand and reflect on the message that we've learned from it, apply it to our lives in order to be placed in a position to be successful. So.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hicks. And at this time, I am going to turn it back over to Larry.
Thank you, Dr. Hicks, for the presentation this morning. Took some good notes there. I am sure the chapter is really happy that you were able to take time out of your busy schedule today to address us. So thank you for that presentation. At this time, we did finish a few minutes early, so I do want to go over a few little things here before we start our next session. Again, I can't thank the board of directors this year enough for everything they've done. You know, Elena Myers, past president, Renata Simmons, going to be the incoming president. Michelle Barnes does an excellent job as secretary. Of course, Rebecca Ogden is treasurer for life, and she's now going to look at me funny when I say that. Anitra Williams, who was very instrumental in getting Dr. Hicks, and Emmanuel, who's a membership coordinator. And I intentionally don't say his last name because I always mispronounce it. So Emmanuel, great job with membership coordinator. And Robbie, who's our appointed member, and an IT guru who's making this happen behind the scenes. And even though we're watching the screen and we're seeing the speakers, believe me, we're texting Robbie, we're doing all kinds of things behind the screens and making things happen. So we're keeping him busy. So thank you to the board of directors. I probably don't thank them enough, but I want to just keep thanking them for a great job. It's been a very trying year, trying to get through this and trying to keep the chapter going, motivated, enthusiastic. And so we've done that. Also want to thank, you know, yesterday we had the business meeting, so we have some incoming board of directors starting July 1st. You know, we'll have, of course, Renata Simmons will take over as president. Well, I'm going to speak to that a little bit later. I'll be the past president, the president-elect Dale Clemens, treasurer Rebecca Ogden, secretary Michelle Barnes, the member at large Anitra Williams. Membership coordinator is Tanya Lawrence. So those are going to be the members taking over July 1st. This will be our last scheduled event for this year. At this time, I'm going to pivot a little bit. Rebecca Ogden, if you're available to maybe do some door prizes. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we have 4 $25 Amazon gift cards, as well as an overnight stay at one of the Kentucky State Parks Resort. And I'm not seeing Rebecca online, but she did email me this morning.
I'm here.
Oh, you are there. Okay.
I don't know if you can see me.
I cannot see you.
I
but
have my
can
camera
hear you
on,
now. Okay, now we can see you. Would you like to draw the next gift card? Amazon
Sure.
$25 gift card, yes.
Sure, but I would like to point out that you refer to me as treasurer for life, Larry, but I think you can add that to Michelle as secretary for life because she's starting to catch up with me on number of years, consecutive years here. So she can share that title with me.
Okay, point taken.
Okay, so just to say what I said yesterday, winners of the drawing have been identified and authenticated by the firm of Cannon and Nelson. So I did not draw this. Don't want to think there's any type of favoritism involved. So the winner of the first gift card for today is Mr. Rodney Moore with the Department of Corrections. Rodney, if you're on board with us today, just kind of put a little comment if you wouldn't mind. Yesterday we did have a couple of winners comment that they were joining us. You want me to do another one?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do another one here real quick.
Okay. The winner of the second gift card is Miss Heather Combs, and she is with the Public Auditor's Office.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and yeah, let's go ahead. Let's do one more while we're at it. Let's do one more gift card while we're at it.
Okay, one more gift card?
Sure.
Okay, the third winner is Mr. Eric Sizemore with the Transportation Cabinet.
Okay. All right, thank you, Rebecca. We'll have 2 more of those to give away here in just a little while. So at this time, I just want to go over a couple more small things before I turn it back over to Robbie. We will be doing He's going to be introducing Secretary Weathers and Vicki Stone, Executive Director, and they will be doing a presentation here. And then we will transition to a short business meeting, and then we'll take a break and come back. We'll have to get out of the session, go to the agenda, click on the session for 11 o'clock, and come back and do that. So we'll have a 15-minute break. If we have a 20-minute break, that's okay too. I know everybody's got things to do. And so we'll go ahead and mention that. And then also, we'll talk a little bit about this afternoon. We got the panel starting at 11 o'clock. That's going to be moderated by Lynn Keelan-Gillis, and she's got some good questions to ask the panel members. Commissioner Mary Elizabeth Bailey, Teresa Straw from the Office of Human Resource Management at Cabinet for Health and Family Services, and Michelle Barnes, who's Office of Human Resource Management from the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet. So looking forward to that session, and then we'll have Kareem Ellis after that, and then we'll wrap up the annual conference. So Robbie, if you're available, and if the Personnel Cabinet staff is ready to go, we may start a few minutes early. Robbie?
Thank you, Larry. As part of the Personnel Cabinet, as well as the Board of Directors at Kentucky IPMA-HR, it is my pleasure to introduce our next speakers for updates from the Personnel Cabinet. The Kentucky chapter of IPMA-HR and the Personnel Cabinet share mutual partnership and support of each other, so we're happy to introduce the next presentation for updates from the Personnel Cabinet. Secretary Weathers has accumulated over 17 years in public service to the Commonwealth of Kentucky. She served as Executive Director for the Attorney General's Office of Senior Protection and Mediation, where she was responsible for creating this grassroots division under the leadership of Andy Bashir. Prior, she served as Executive Director in the Office of Victims Advocacy at the Office of the Attorney General. Before her service at the Attorney General's office, she accumulated 10 years of service working on criminal cases in Jefferson County. Secretary Weathers currently oversees the Kentucky Personnel Cabinet's employee wellness and engagement programs, professional development initiatives, and the Governor's Lead Conference. She was also named one of the Kentucky Gazette's 2020 Notable Women in Kentucky Politics and Government. Secretary Weathers received her Bachelor's of Arts in Political Science at the University of Louisville and her Juris Doctorate from the Brandeis School of Law. Also introducing Vicki Smiley Stone, she comes to the Personnel Cabinet after having owned a public relations, community engagement, and diversity and inclusion programming company for over 20 years. Throughout her tenure as a business owner, she served as the consultant to local, national, and international clients and has worked on a wide variety of projects, the largest of which was the Louisville Metro Housing Authority's $200 million Park Revitalization Hope 6 project. Vicki has a bachelor's degree in communications from the University of Louisville, master's degree from Kentucky State University, diversity inclusion for Human Resources certification from Cornell University, and she is graduate of the Leadership Louisville Bingham Fellows Program. With that, I will turn it over to Secretary Weathers and Vicki. All right, Secretary Weathers.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much, Robbie. We just appreciate you. I'm not going to stay on Robbie and Larry long, but we're very, very fortunate to have them here, and we're actually going to be able to get through this and this presentation with such ease. Not because of me, I'm just here to tell you right now. It's because of Robbie and everyone else who makes sure that we know what we're doing and following through. So we are excited about being here. And Robbie, we are ready for the next slide. And as you can see, we're from the Personnel Cabinet. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here today. And we have about 160 employees. We're small but mighty. And the cabinet is responsible for the Kentucky Employees Health Plan, the Workers' Comp Program for all agencies except KYTC, the Kentucky Public Employees Deferred Comp Plan, and two of the major technology programs, which is Chris and My Purpose. So we have, we're kind of an umbrella of sorts, which has been very exciting. Learned a whole lot the past 12 to 15 months of just being able to understand what we do and go in and really get some things done and to make sure that we're here for state employees. Next slide, please. And this is just a quick synopsis of all of our services. And many of you already know this, and since we have about 30 minutes, and Vicki, how are you doing? I didn't get to say hello to Vicki.
Good morning, Secretary.
How are you, Vicki? And what you will see is that we will give some synopsis of some of our programs and offices, but since we have 30 minutes, we'll make sure to make it as simple as we possibly can without going overboard, because I can talk about Personnel Cabinet all day long. And so I want to first just thank everyone that's actually listening and just being present these past 12 to 16 months. It being a different year is an understatement, but it shows who we are as people, and especially who we are in state government, as state employees. So I do want to just have a special thank you, a personal thank you to our cabinet, the Personnel Cabinet staff. They just have a temperament of resilience and hope. And I want to share with you just real quickly that they are the motivation behind this theme today of hope, reshape, and redefine. And I know that we're here just to kind of share with you what Personnel Cabinet does, but what a process that this has been. And I wanted to make a quick quote from one of my favorite authors, Mr. Richard Rohr, Bishop Richard Rohr. And he said about process this. He said, "Love is the source and goal. Faith is the slow process of getting there. And hope is the willingness to move forward without resolution." And that's what we've all done. Everyone listening and everyone who's played part in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We're moving forward without resolution. Next slide, please. So I want to share with you that, of course, we're in a new day. I think you've heard that quite a bit the past couple of days so far. And we want to share with you about COVID and beyond. Last year was a very interesting year. I always say that it's the longest, shortest year that we've ever had. And I'll share that with you because we came in January. I came in this particular position in January, and we actually started to transition within 10 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks after that when we had COVID. So dealing with a lot of things, set up tests, COVID tests, taking care of things, transitioning, making sure that people are healthy at home. But now we're able to get beyond. And so we have what we call our first comprehensive interactive resource guide. That's when we all got together here in the Personnel Cabinet, the executive staff, and said, what can we do as far as having an interactive process of what we have made available for state employees from here and beyond. So not just going into My Purpose and having to listen to a certain webinar, which is fantastic because I think that's also important, but also have something interactive that we're continuously changing. You'll hear a little bit about that, I'm sure, with Mary Elizabeth later, our wonderful HR commissioner. But we want to share with you that we update that, and it goes from answering questions from how do I work from home all the way to what do I do now to get my health assessment, which is due on July 1st, for those who are part of KEHP. So we've been creating those. We've been creating webinars based on just dealing with mental health, because there's nothing more important about building ourselves again mentally and physically and financially. And we do all of that in the personnel department, so in the cabinet. So we are excited. So I want to share with you just real quickly from Kristen Scroggin yesterday, our insightful guest speaker. She shared with us that she said this: we gravitate to things that which is comfortable. But we are now in a culture now that we have to be getting used to the unknown. And that's okay when we embrace change and that we're being resilient the way that we are. So we have some wonderful, wonderful programs that are going to be made available, and I want to share with you a couple of those. And Vicki and I are kind of talk back and forth about it. Next slide, please. It's about hope. It's our foundational programs. And I want to share with you when we first started, this is near and dear to my heart, but dealing with the issue of domestic violence and intimate partner violence. What we see all over the world is that the things that we used to attack or deal with in the workplace is actually quite different now. Whether we're going to be here all the time in the office or if we're going to do hybrids, things are different now. So how we deal with issues as it relates to us personally is going to be different. Domestic violence and intimate partner violence has been around forever. And unfortunately, it is something that's been pretty rough for everyone, not just in the state, in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, but for everywhere. So Vicki and I wanted to come together and make sure that we move forward and dealing with the intimate partner violence. HR directors will be able to look at this. They're required to watch this presentation, but there's also another really sweet section that goes with that. So I'm going to let Vicki explain a little bit about that to you.
Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, Secretary. It was a very rewarding project to work on with the Secretary and Dr. Campbell. The information and our goal in terms of presenting this was to provide something that would be sustaining for employees to have a greater understanding of intimate partner violence and really just break it down the perspective of how it has morphed from domestic violence to intimate partner violence relative to the relationships as they currently exist in the world today. And one of the greatest resources for this particular piece was the reflections panel. And it was my honor to serve as the moderator for this particular panel. We had some fabulous subject matter experts, you know, everyone ranging from our Commissioner Straub to Andrew Yanelli with the Kentucky Coalition Against Domestic Violence, Marsha Roth, who was a former executive director of the Mary Bryan Project, and Gretchen Hunt, who's executive director of Emerge Kentucky, but she has spent her professional career in this area of intimate partner violence. And I feel like this particular panel, because Dr. Campbell provided the base level information, which is fabulous, you know, all the statistical information and the signs and indicators, but the panel was able to take us to the next level in terms of making it more personal and more, I want to say intimate, but that's not the correct word, but just more in depth in terms of intimate partner violence and making it something that you can relate to, whether it's your own personal family or someone you know. So I feel so it was a great presentation, and we hope that it will make a difference in the lives of our employees.
Yes, thank you, Vicki. And it's one of those things where you're able to view both of them, one of them or all of them. And my purpose and the other part is that how do you help someone who is now no longer in the office with you, but you can tell just on a Zoom call or just talking with them that something might be awry. Well, the actual panel will give you some tools for that. And as we move forward, we know now that our personal and our professional lives have somewhat merged. And it's funny because it always has. It's just been enlightened, or it's been brightened by what we've been going through since COVID. So we've moved forward to try to make sure that we have those types of programs that are made available. So now we've got our superheroes in KEEP, our Kentucky Employees Assistant Program. They have facilitated more programs than I can even speak on. They were the first group, along with Robbie's group, to share about what to look for when we're talking about mental health when this started last year. So mental health is also an issue. And it's funny because for whatever reason, it's somewhat taboo, but those are issues that we deal with every day. I'll share with you just real quickly. Yesterday, I crossed over a wonderful milestone at 21 years of cancer survivorship. But at the time when I was diagnosed and taking chemo, I was also raising a 3-year-old and also trying to finish up my last year of law school. And I had lost my mother and my father very young. I was young at 20 or 21 years old. That's not any different than a lot of you and everything that you're going through. There's a lot of things that we deal with all the time, every day. And then we're expected to produce and be what we need to be professionally for other people as state employees and as public servants. So we want to make sure that we listen to you. We've got a lot of responses and we've got a lot of comments from other state employees of what they'd like to see. So that's why you see the things that we have here that are made available. Mental health issues in the workplace, that's the program that we had on May 13th, because actually May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So we've got some other programs that are made available, as you can see, that are in May. We also have a wonderful, wonderful person from Washington State. Her name is Dr. Kira Massive. It's about leading with resilience. It's about moving beyond everything that we've been through and creating a culture that's going to be good for us and good for other people. And she has a little humor about her too, which I love. So we really recommend when you have some time to actually look at some of those programs that are here. You see all of the Women's History Month that we did. We've got elder abuse coming up and Veterans Day. We are trying to make sure that we have programs that are being made available that are going to be personally for you. Next slide, please. And then this is exciting. This is just talking about what we need to just say thank you. We need to say thank you to the people that have been working from 2 years to 32 years in state government. And we're able to do that here in Personnel Cabinet, along with everything else that we do, of course, with personnel issues and things like that. But look at what we can do with our Governor's Ambassador Awards. And that's nominations that come from each agency. The Teamwork Award winner of 2020, for instance, was the Commonwealth Office of Technology, COT. Our Public Service Recognition Week is just an opportunity, it's a pure appreciation week that we're able to do. And then last but not least I wanted to just share with you our Kentucky Employee Charitable Campaign. And we raised a total of $409,000 in 2020. So it just shares with you what state government employees do for other people. Those agencies that we have part in the Kentucky Employee Charitable Campaign, we actually are recipients of some of those programs. So it's about the resiliency and what we do every day in state government. Next slide, please, Robbie. So we're reshaping new trainings. We wanted to share with you about what we're doing. These are some things that we've learned just from last year in 2020, updating and reshaping. We're reinforcing our commitment to education, especially to things that we have to deal with, or the other things that we have to deal with every day, which is workplace investigations. When we have to do these things, now we're going to have some trainings that are going to be made available for HR directors and staff, and especially our legal group. That's going to be in June 2nd. That's coming from our legal group that's going to be actually facilitating that program. And then even through our compensation group with Alan and our legal person with Gordon and Rose and that big group in our legal group here. And our workers' comp is going to be led by Alan Hurst and his group. And it's just an opportunity, especially since what we have dealt with last year, the importance of making sure that we have a very strategic plan in how to file our workers' compensation claims. So it'll start from intake to investigation and into litigation, and that's going to be on June 16th. And of course, all that's in our My Purpose. Next slide, please. And then just refining state government, becoming it. And I love this because I'm getting ready to turn this over to Vicki, because this is definitely her quote that she said that we want state government to become an employer of choice. So she's just going to share with you about recruitment and what this looks like. And Kristen Scroggins talked about that yesterday about how we need to stay ahead of the game of what we are dealing with as far as recruitment for state government. So Vicki.
Thank you, Secretary. Yes, we're really excited about this work in this particular area. Odette has taken on some additional initiatives relative to diversity and inclusion, and one of which is recruitment. And so we're working very closely with Elena Myers and Rebecca Singleton in this particular area, and HRA in and of itself, to outreach to various civic organizations, colleges and universities. You know, it's interesting. We meet with one organization and then that leads to 2 other organizations. So it's great. So we've been able to go out and meet with them, and not literally go out and meet with them, virtually, of course, meet with them and to share what we're doing in terms of state government. You know, it's interesting when you talk with people, especially at colleges and universities, a lot of people just don't think about state government as a virtual, you know, as a virtual, not a virtual choice, but look at state government as an employment choice. And I think it's because this view of it is just, you know, you have a building and you have people working and they're sitting at a computer, but it's much bigger than that. And so the first step, of course, is to make people aware of the various opportunities and all the cabinets that we have available and what the process is. And so as we meet with these companies and with these organizations, we're able to share that information. So it's very helpful in that particular perspective. We're meeting with all types of as I said, all types of organizations, and it's been really great. Actually, we have a presentation planned for this Saturday, so we're pretty excited about that. So in terms of other things, Secretary, you want me to go beyond that?
Sure.
Oh, okay. So I was just going to say that, you know, in terms of other initiatives that we're doing, I'm thinking, Secretary, perhaps you're going to talk about the ERGs, or would you like me to go ahead and talk about that now?
We can do that later.
Okay. I'll stop there with recruitment then.
Okay. And then we'll have our internships that we are beefing up. And then, of course, you'll hear from Mary Elizabeth Bailey, our HR commissioner. We won't expand on a whole lot of things, but we just want to share with you that we have been working on that quite a bit to make sure that that outreach is there, that we don't start with people that are already in, not only just in state government, but those who are in college, and just being able to make sure that we make those connections. And next slide, please. And then it's all about refining. Wellness works. We joke about it all the time here with the group that we have met we meet quite a bit virtually, and we talk about the importance of taking care of ourselves as we move forward. The only way that we're going to be a robust culture through state government, as we always have been, is to make sure that we take care of home, taking care of us. And so that's also with the financial wellness webinars. We've got a good group with Chris here that have just done some great things with the Kentucky Deferred Comp, and they will work with you personally. They always have, but now they have even opened up their whole world of webinars online, virtually, and also meeting with you one-on-one on your financial wellness. And then our Kentucky Employees Health Plan. We've got a new program, of course, with our new charter of WebMD. I'm sure you've heard of it. I actually have it on my phone with the app where you can download it. We are in the third week of 5 weeks with a walking competition. And Vicki and all of you they'll tell you that I'm a tad bit competitive when it comes to things like that. But I love it because you're actually able to take care of yourself physically and be able to do some fun things. I also want to remind you, though, that the new programs that they have now, you've got coaches that you can talk to after you complete your health wellness or your biometric screening. You can go online and look at the app, and they've got coaches that you can actually talk to about specific things that you're interested in. We've got a new diabetes program, a lot of great services that's going on through KEHP. And then our new programs and trainings in our government services center with Wes, who we just love. They work a lot together with Vicki on different programs and trainings as we move forward in this new culture in 2021. Next slide, please. And then we're just going to talk a little bit about embracing change together, the different things that are made available here. It's a white elephant in the room. We know that we talk about diversity and inclusion all the time. We hear it all the time. We heard it a lot in 2020. But I tell you, the best thing about us, people in state government, I am partial about state employees. I just always have been. But there is a sense of resilience that we have that other folk, it's just different. And we are able to deal with a lot of things because we deal with a lot more change than what people have given us credit. So it is no longer a way for us to ignore that we have to take care of each other. Doesn't matter what our background is, doesn't matter what color we are, doesn't matter what gender we are or any of that. What matters is that we take care of ourselves, take care of each other so we can take care of the public. And we can't do all of that if we don't deal with certain issues that are just glaring in front of us day to day. And that's a lot of things that we have been dealing with in 2020. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Challenges are just an opportunity for us to walk in our blueprint of who we are, what we do. There is something that keeps us in state government. So why not make it exciting as we move forward post-COVID? And it is going to be different. I mean, it's amazing that we've had to wear these. It's just different. You know, I always say now that I can watch people now how they smile with their eyes. Well, I never paid any attention to that before, but I do now because there are just certain things that we have to deal with, or if somebody is sad or they're upset. So I'd like for Vicki just to kind of really take some time and be able to share with you what that looks like for state government. This is the beginning of great things that we're doing, and Vicki, you can take your time and we can talk through that as we go through this process.
Thank you, Secretary. The first thing you'll see here is the Governor's Minority Management Training Pilot Program, and we're really excited about this and excited about being able to provide this. I will say at the onset that both of these programs we're hoping to kick out the second quarter of this year. I think I'm going to start with the employee resource groups first, though, because it's new, brand new to state government. And again, we're super excited about it. We've got 7 employee resource groups. And you might say, well, what is an employee resource group? Well, an employee resource group is an opportunity for people to take part in 7 different types of organizational groups that are geared toward a particular aspect of multiculturalism. So we have a women's employee resource group, a veterans employee resource group, African-American employee resource group, Hispanic, Latino, LGBTQ, multi-generational, and Asian American Pacific Islander employee resource groups. Now, as I mentioned on the front end, that these are organizations comprised of folks who are interested in a particular topic area. So it's not inclusive. It is inclusive, I should say, it's not exclusive, meaning that men can be a part of the women's employee resource group, for instance, if you have a particular interest in that particular topic area. So we want folks to feel like they can participate in as many or as few or whatever their interest area is. So we're going to be sending out a communication about that. And as you see here, it's voluntary, employee-led group of individuals who share a common interest in diversity and inclusion. And I'm super excited that we have cabinet secretaries who are taking a leadership role, serving as executive sponsors for each of these employee resource groups. And on that same note, as relates to the diversity and inclusion councils, I am just so proud of state government in that when we begin to have a dialogue about diversity and inclusion, the cabinet secretaries have taken it upon themselves, actually 7 of them, to create these diversity and inclusion councils. And Odette is serving in an advisory capacity to the councils to help them think about how they want to position their work. What are the particular areas of diversity and inclusion they want to focus upon that is particularly a part of their cabinet? Where do they want to go? What do they want to look at as a cabinet relative to this topic area? So that's very exciting, and looking forward to that work. Actually, we've already started. We've got 7, I think I mentioned there's 7 councils that have come online. Now, as it relates to the Governor's Minority Management Training Pilot Program, we're also, as I said, we're going to be kicking that out the second quarter of this year. And it's going to be an opportunity to provide professional and management training opportunities for the employees to participate in it. And also, we hope to be, and why it's called a pilot is we hope to be a catalyst for the development of a leadership development program that will be provided to all employees to apply for and participate in as we move forward. Some of the topics that will be discussed are like career success, executive branch ethics, navigating government, personal branding. So everything that will be relative to, and that's just a few of the many topics that will be covered. We have internal and external experts that are going to be a part of the process and part of the training that these individuals will have access to. So again, it's about embracing what has been done in the past and enhancing that, and then moving forward with things like the employee resource groups and diversity and inclusion councils in this particular area and in this work.
Thank you so much, Vicki. And I did want to ask you a question. I'm sure you have the answer to it, but we have had questions from the past, and I love it. The Commonwealth is it's a different type of state in that with its size, we don't have 2 counties, we don't have 5, but we actually have 126. Are we sure that these programs are going to be able to meet the needs for everyone? Because it's not just about, of course, Fayette County and Jefferson County. There are other counties where state employees reside and where they work. So are these programs applicable to that?
Absolutely. We'll be promoting these programs enterprise-wide for executive branch employees. And we always keep that in mind, even going back, if I may, to talk about recruitment. We're not just looking at recruitment from a Louisville and Jefferson County perspective. As I share with my staff and in my conversations with Elena, I look at it from a north, south, east, west perspective. You know, we might meet with an organization that's in Louisville. They have a companion organization in Bowling Green, or we met with Northern Kentucky University. So we definitely keep that in mind. And we hope, you know, the great thing about the virtual world is you're unlimited. You know, it's not like you have to be present. You can participate virtually. And as we move forward in the year, I hope that we will be able to have some sort of large scale events where folks can come in from throughout the state. But no, it's going to be open and available. And I sincerely hope that everyone will take an opportunity to participate.
Thanks, Vicki. And I also want to just share real quickly is that we've got a great group with Russell, which is our public information officer here. They have updated, along with Robbie, they're updating the website at the Personnel Cabinet, along with the newsletters. We want you all to be a part of the newsletters. There are a lot of great information about that, that it talks about our state employees all over the Commonwealth, which is most important to us. So thanks, Vicki. And I think we have one more slide. Next slide, please. And last but not least, we were excited about the Governor's Lead Conference last year. Our heroes with Robbie and our public information officer, Russell, put together something that was pretty powerful. We were able to all come together and start looking at what our guest speakers were looking like. We had a full legal day with judges and how things work in the criminal system and how it works for us. We had Kareem Ellis, the founder of Empowerment Education. We had a panel on healthcare disparities, and that's just to name a few. We are moving forward now to our new Governor's Lead Conference that's housed in Vicki's group, and we are extremely excited. We had, Robbie, please correct me if I'm wrong, over 1,000 people who had registered last year. So I won't say any more because I can talk all day about that too. But Vicki, do you have anything that you'd like to discuss before we do our presentation?
Absolutely. It's, that's what I consider to be one of our jewels in terms of activities that Odette is involved with, and that's the LEAD conference. It's so exciting to have individuals both internally and externally serve as speakers to provide different perspectives on different topics. And the ticket sales are phenomenal. I mean, we haven't even put out the agenda yet, and I can't believe we have almost 200 tickets sold. So that is terrific. I wanted to mention some of the topics that we're exploring. The planning committee is totally awesome. It's pulling a little bit from all the different aspects of state government in terms of working on the project. But, and we've already begun the process of looking at 2021. And some of the topics that we're exploring are just to sort of give you a little insight as to where we're going with this is accessibility, inclusion, multi-generational aspects of the workplace today, resilience. The Secretary has spent some time talking about the resilience, and I call it thriving and surviving in the new norm. We're looking at implicit bias and microaggressions, inclusive leadership. You hear me talk a lot about diversity and inclusion, and women, equity, and leadership. And of course, our legal session. So, and it's going to be another great 2 days of information that I think people will walk away with inspired to move forward in this new norm as we know it to be. So, Secretary, with that, that's sort of a prelude to what I consider to be the premiere, if you will, of the promotional video.
We hope you can join us at this year's KY Lead Virtual Conference. Visit kylead.ky.gov for more information.
All right, and then I think just with our last slide, it gives just our information. I hope that you enjoyed the kind of sneak premiere. I tell you, we're big time here. Thank you, Robbie. And I don't know if we have a few minutes. I think we're a little bit over, so we're right at a little bit over 30 minutes. But I don't know if we have any other questions. Any questions?
I don't see any questions at this time.
All righty. Well, we want to thank you for giving us the opportunity just to share a little bit about what Personnel Cabinet is doing. We're here to help and here to assist, and we are working every day to make sure that we are doing what we need to do to try to help, and still evolving, but we are changing with resilience, and we're excited about what's to come. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Secretary. It is my honor to serve with these fine ladies on the executive staff at the Personnel Cabinet, and I just want to reinforce too that the Kentucky chapter of IPMA-HR and the Kentucky Personnel Cabinet, we are strong mutual partners. We support each other. The leadership of the Personnel Cabinet sees great value in what we're offering as a professional organization for public sector HR, and the Kentucky chapter is thrilled again to be a sponsor and supporter of the 2021 KY Lead Conference. to include a sponsorship and sponsorship of the registration process. So again, thank you, Secretary and Vicki, for a wonderful presentation on the updates of the great work we're doing at the Personnel Cabinet. Appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to our chapter president, Mr. Larry Gillis.
Thank you, Robbie, and thank you, Secretary Weathers and Vicki Stone. That was a great presentation. We're very much looking forward to the lead conference. Excellent promo video. So happy to show that today, and thank you for all the updates. At this time, we're going to start the business meeting, but before we start, I'm just going to mention something here because, you know, most of us in HR, and what do we do in HR? We pivot and adapt. You know, every day we talk about going into work and getting things done, and then at 8:30 that morning you get that phone call and it changes your whole day, right? So you have to start working on this fire, putting out this fire, and going and doing things like that. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. So for the presentation, the next business meeting, Lynn Keelan Gillis was supposed to do the Gaddis Award, which she's going to do. She's having trouble with the Teams Live meeting, and we can't really correct that right now. We are both working from home, so she's actually going to use my computer to do that. So we're actually going to use the same computer, so we're going to pivot and adapt. But I'm going to kick off the business meeting at this point. Again, thank all the speakers so far. Thank all the speakers and all the presenters, and also ServiceNow for the sponsorship. At this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Lynn Keelan Gillis for presentation of the Walter R. Gaddis Award. So I'm going to actually change seats here, let her sit down in my seat, use my computer, and we're going to get through this business meeting. So I'm going to turn it over to Lynn at this time.
Okay, sorry, we had to play a little bit of musical chairs. It's good to be with you all this morning. The presentation of the Walter Gaddis Award is probably my favorite part of the annual conference. We have many hardworking and deserving human resource professionals working in the public sector, and this is our opportunity to acknowledge and honor the best of the best among us. I want to thank the board for allowing me to present this award, and I also want to thank my committee members. They were both former Gaddis Award winners as well. That would be Singer Buchanan and Galen Linville. And I know we have a lot of former Gaddis winners online today watching, and I'd like to say congratulations to you one more time for winning this prestigious award in the past. The Walter R. Gaddis Award, Junior Award, is presented annually to recognize a chapter member who has made significant contributions in the field of human resource management and in the promotion of the chapter. This award is given in honor and memory of Walter R. Gaddis Jr., who was instrumental in the establishment and development of Kentucky's merit system. Mr. Gaddis served as Commissioner of the Department of Personnel from 1961 to 1967. He was Personnel Director of the University of Kentucky Chandler Medical Center from 1974 to 1976, Personnel Officer for the newly revised State Court System from 1976 to 1980, and he held a number of other positions in state and federal government. Unfortunately, we lost Mr. Gaddis on January 25th, 1989. He passed at the ripe old age of 70. So I've heard a lot about Mr. Gaddis over my years with IPMA, but when I was asked to chair this committee this year, I kind of thought about, you know, wouldn't it be nice to know a little bit more about him? So I decided to do my internet research, and I searched for articles and information on him, and I found a wonderful treasure that I'd like to share a little bit about with you about it before we go into the actual presentation. It's actually an audio recording of an interview that Mr. Gaddis did back on February 3rd of 1979. He was interviewed by George W. Robinson, who was at that time the chairman of the Oral History Department at Eastern Kentucky University. So this interview is prepared on tape. And you can find it at oralhistory.eku.edu. And bear in mind, this is a 42-year-old tape, and the quality is not exactly what we would like. But so you might want to turn up the volume really loud and definitely use your headphones. But in listening to this interview, I learned some very interesting things, and it was nice to hear from Mr. Gaddis's own mouth. He spent a lot of time talking about his work with Governor Burt Combs. Of course, Governor Burt Combs was the governor that was in place when the merit system that we have today was put into place. He talked about his involvement with that. He talked about how he was involved with the original drafting of KRS 18A, which is, of course, the legal structure that surrounds our current employment system. He spent some time talking about his involvement with the civil rights movement and Governor Combs' initiative to hire minorities into state government. He was evidently an original member of the Kentucky Personnel Board. I did not know that. But here's the thing that you really need to pay attention to that's very exciting for us as IPMA chapter members. He talks about IPMA in this interview, and he talks about the fact that KRS 18A leaned heavily on a personnel law model that was developed by IPMA. So we can be very proud to know that we are involved in basically an organization that was instrumental in development of our current merit system. So I highly recommend this interview. It really brought his history to life. And again, you can find it at oralhistory.eku.edu. So moving on to our winner this year. This year's recipient of the Walter R. Gaddis Jr. Award has been a member of Kentucky IPMA chapter for over 25 years. The recipient has a career with Kentucky state government that spans over 34 years. Under this recipient's leadership, her agency was one of the first in state government to develop an electronic workflow process for personnel actions. That system is still in existence today. She's always been a forward thinker, and she implemented an organized telecommuting program that allowed up to 40% of her staff to telecommute long before the COVID-19 pandemic brought us all into that world. She is a strong believer in lifelong learning, and she has been a true advocate for others. She takes proactive steps to ensure that her employees are encouraged, budgeted, and approved for participation in professional development opportunities. She and her team members are always present at IPMA functions, both state and regional. Her career in state government started in the Transportation Cabinet, where she started in a clerical role. She transferred to the Transportation Cabinet 9 years later, and she had risen to the level of Administrative Section Supervisor. Her career in human resources started at the Cabinet for Families and Children. She has served in the public, in the human resource field in a variety of roles, including Personnel Management Specialist 3, Personnel Administrator, Personnel Branch Manager, Assistant Director, and she now serves as Division Director for the Kentucky Department of Education. She has always been a consummate professional, and she's always willing to help her peers. She's well regarded and well respected. I have been personally acquainted with this recipient for a long time now, probably over 15 years, and I can tell you that she's quite busy. And I know this firsthand because I'm the other Lynn in HR, and she and I get each other's emails from time to time, and I see some of the content from time to time, and she's a busy lady, I can tell you that. And I know she's gotten quite a few of my emails over the years too. So it is my great pleasure and great honor to present to you the 2021 Walter R. Gaddis Jr. Award, which goes to Ms. Lynn McNowan McNair. Congratulations.
Thank you, Lynn, and congratulations, Lynn McGowan McNair, on the award. Very deserving. And as you can tell, I pulled your picture off of Facebook. And so if you got a picture on Facebook and I need a picture, I'll probably find it. So I tried to get a good one there. So very deserving award. Happy to present that to you this year. As I said yesterday, I will, everyone is muted. So if you would like to send me a statement that you want to say thanks or whatever to the chapter, please do that. Just email it to me. And then we'll send it out with the statement after the session is over. So congratulations again to Lynn McGowan McNear. This time I want to say a few things about Renata Simmons. She is the president-elect, and she will be becoming president on July the 1st. And normally this is the time when I would hand over the gavel. And of course, we're not in person, but I have the gavel right here, if you can see it. And so I'm going to virtually hand the gavel over to Renata. I'll finish out the meeting, but she'll take over after today. And Renata, if you're on the presentation here, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, can you hear me? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Hi. Exciting. Thank you, Larry. First, I just want to thank you for your service and commitment that you've given to our Kentucky chapter. Just so you know, from me, you have been an impeccable leader and a great inspiration to follow. I have, and I continue to learn from you every day, and the example that you set. I hope to become as half the leader that you've demonstrated. And I know you set the bar high, but I also know that you will be more than willing to lend your shoulders for us to stand on and continue to take our chapter to higher heights. And again, I just want to thank you for all that you do. Also, just quickly, I just wanted to thank our current and previous board members that I have had the privilege to work with. It's been a joy to serve with all of you all for the past few years. This is new to me, but it's exciting. I know that this past year we've overcome many obstacles, but we did as a team. And that's why I love that motto, teamwork makes the dream work. So people always hear me say that. And now, as Dr. Hicks said earlier, I embrace my purposeful change. And I'm honored to have the opportunity to serve as your new chapter president. And I'm excited. I look forward to serving with our new board, and I hope to fulfill the purpose that I have in my role. And with the recent COVID changes, I'm hopeful that together we'll be able to work our HR magic to host an in-person meeting sometime this upcoming year. But plus, I know that the team that we have, I have faith in them that our teamwork will be committed to make our dream work. Again, I thank all of you all and appreciate the opportunity to lead and to be a part of this Kentucky team. Thank you.
Thank you, Renata. Very kind words there. And I know you're enthusiastic, and we're enthusiastic for you. And yes, the board will be there for you to help you as we ascend, as you ascend into the president's role there. So very excited for you. At this time, I will take a motion to adjourn the business meeting. Somebody? So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the second business meeting of the conference, and without objection, I will, that is so ordered. All right, so we are at the point now where we're almost time for a break. I just want to remind everyone that the next session begins at 11 o'clock. And if you're an attendee, you would need to go back to the website that we have, to the agenda for the second session of the second day. We will come back at 11. We will kick off with the HR panel, go to Mr. Kareem Ellis, and then we'll close out the day. So you will have to go there, click on that. It seems like you all been doing okay on that, but I'll keep wanting to remind you of that. And we will do that. And when we close out, we will have one more gift card to give away, and we'll also give away the park's overnight stay. So at this time, we'll take about a 20-minute break. We'll start back at 11 o'clock sharp. Again, go to the link, go to the new session, and we'll see you all at 11 o'clock. Thank you all.